The soft chime of your phone's notification breaks the quiet of the morning, pulling you from a moment of reflection as you sip your coffee in the dim light of your kitchen. It's another alert from your news app, updating you on the latest developments in the Epstein case, the Federal Reserve's recent decisions, and shifts in the Trump administration, all of which are influencing daily life in 2026. This isn't meant to alarm you, but rather to help us understand the situation together, like chatting with a friend over a casual drink. I'm Ben from Ben Finance, and we're going to explore this thoughtfully, step by step, focusing on the facts and practical ways to navigate these times. We'll look at the details without exaggeration, aiming to provide clarity and helpful strategies for managing your finances amid these events. Let's take it one part at a time, building a clear picture of what's happening and how you can respond effectively, ensuring we cover the nuances in a balanced manner. Consider the everyday experiences many are facing in 2026, the subtle pressures that add up over time and shape how people approach their routines. It's early February, around the 4th, and you're starting your day in a typical American city. Perhaps somewhere like Detroit with its industrial history or Austin with its growing tech scene, where economic changes are integrated into daily activities in various ways. Your alarm sounds gently at 6 a.m., a standard tone that signals the beginning of another day, perhaps one where you're balancing work, family, and personal goals. You rise from bed, noting a familiar sense of tiredness that comes from maintaining a full schedule, and make your way to the bathroom under the soft glow of a bedside lamp. The mirror reflects your image, maybe showing subtle signs of the ongoing efforts to keep everything in order amidst broader uncertainties. As you turn on the faucet to wash up, you might notice how the water flows steadily. But in the back of your mind, there's awareness that utility costs have risen by approximately 18%. Over the past few months, influenced by policy focuses on domestic energy production, such as initiatives to bolster coal and natural gas sectors, which have had ripple effects on supply chains and pricing due to negotiations with international partners like Canada over pipeline access and environmental standards. After freshening up, you reach for your phone on the nightstand. And there it is, a notification popping up with details from the recent Epstein file releases. A comprehensive set of over 3 million pages made public by the Department of Justice on January 30th, outlining connections among various prominent individuals from business, politics, and finance circles, prompting discussions about transparency and accountability. This kind of update might lead to a brief moment of contemplation as you consider how such revelations could affect market sentiments, with early indicators showing stock futures adjusting downward by around 300 points in pre-market trading, reflecting investor responses to potential implications for stability in key sectors. Moving to the kitchen, you prepare breakfast by pouring a bowl of cereal from a box that now typically retails for about $6 compared to roughly $3 back in 2020, a change driven by factors including agricultural trade policies that have adjusted tariffs on imports from regions like the European Union, affecting the cost of grains and other staples, as well as broader supply chain adaptations following global events. The milk you add, priced at around $4.50 per gallon, up from $2.50 in earlier years, comes from a carton that feels familiar in your hand, though you might observe that the packaging has subtly evolved, with some brands opting for slightly smaller sizes, to manage production costs without altering the overall appearance too noticeably. As you sit down to eat, perhaps at a simple wooden table with a view of the morning light, filtering through the window, you glance at your device again, scrolling through feeds that mention ongoing demonstrations in Minneapolis, stemming from incidents during immigration enforcement operations where federal agents were involved, in situations that tragically resulted in the loss of 2 U.S. citizens, Alex Preddy and Renee Good, leading to community gatherings, strikes, and broader conversations about policy approaches, with participation from millions across the country and some localized effects, like temporary road closures on major highways such as I-94, which in turn might delay routine services like package deliveries or commute times. This atmosphere could foster a sense of quiet concern, where the mind wanders to how these events interconnect with personal life, such as ensuring bills are paid on time amid these distractions. Speaking of bills, as you finish your meal and prepare to head out, thoughts might turn to housing expenses, rent, or mortgage payments that have increased by about 25%. Since 2024, according to market analyses, due to a combination of demand pressures in growing areas, construction costs influenced by material availability, and interest rate environments, hovering around 3.75% as set by recent Federal Reserve benchmarks, making it a topic many households discuss in terms of budgeting and long-term planning. The commute to work or daily errands might involve navigating traffic that includes minor delays, from ongoing infrastructure projects which have been affected by recent government funding resolutions, including a $1.2 trillion spending package signed on February 3rd. That addressed a brief partial shutdown over the previous weekend, providing funding for most federal agencies through the end of the fiscal year, while offering a temporary extension for the Department of Homeland Security until February 13th, to allow for further deliberations. Throughout the day, these elements contribute to a cumulative experience, where individuals feel the need to stay adaptable, perhaps taking a moment during a break, to reflect on how to organize finances more efficiently, like checking account balances, or planning grocery lists with an eye toward value. In the evening, returning home, the routine might include preparing dinner, with ingredients that reflect similar price adjustments. For instance, ground beef, that used to cost $4 per pound, now at $6.50, influenced by livestock feed costs, tied to import duties and weather-related supply variations, leading to choices like opting for more plant-based options or bulk purchases to stretch resources. The lighting in the living room as you unwind, perhaps watching a show or reading, serves as a reminder of energy conservation, with bulbs chosen for efficiency amid those utility rate changes. Bedtime approaches with a sense of accomplishment for having managed the day, yet with an underlying awareness of the need for ongoing vigilance in personal finance matters. This portrayal draws from common narratives shared in economic reports and community discussions, illustrating how broader events weave into individual lives, encouraging a proactive yet measured approach to handling challenges without overwhelming oneself. Now, let's examine the underlying factors contributing to these challenges in a structured way, exploring why some conventional suggestions, such as minimizing minor daily purchases, might not encompass the full scope of the situation, and instead how historical and systemic elements play a role. To gain perspective, it's useful to review key historical milestones that have shaped the current economic landscape. Beginning in 1971, under President Richard Nixon, the United States transitioned away from the gold standard, as part of the Bretton Woods system's conclusion, a move that introduced greater flexibility in monetary policy through the Federal Reserve, but also laid the groundwork for inflation patterns that have averaged around 4% per year since then, as documented in Bureau of Labor Statistics historical records, allowing for currency adjustments in response to global events but requiring careful management to maintain purchasing power. Advancing to 2008, the global financial crisis emerged from complexities in the housing and banking sectors, where subprime mortgages and derivative instruments led to significant instability, prompting a $700 billion Troubled Asset Relief Program, TARP, to stabilize institutions, while the broader economy experienced job losses totaling 8.7 million positions, and home foreclosures affecting 3.8 million properties, as per various federal reports, highlighting the interconnectedness of financial systems and the long-term recovery efforts that followed. These precedents inform the dynamics observed in 2026, where ongoing developments intersect with policy decisions. For instance, the Epstein documents, comprising over 3 million pages released by the Department of Justice on January 30th, detail associations involving more than 150 notable figures across sectors, including some with ties to financial policymaking, fostering dialogues about ethical standards, and their potential influence on public confidence in institutions. This has coincided with a dip in consumer sentiment to 82.5 in January, according to University of Michigan surveys, as individuals process the information and its possible ramifications. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is proceeding with caution, holding interest rates steady, at a range of 3.5% to 3.75% following their January meeting, aiming to balance inflation rates around 3.9% with economic growth support, particularly in light of the $1.2 trillion spending legislation signed on February 3rd, which secures funding for the majority of federal operations through the fiscal year, but implements a short-term continuing resolution for the Department of Homeland Security until February 13th, to facilitate additional negotiations on related matters. In terms of housing and income dynamics, median home prices stand at approximately $428,000, reflecting an 8% increase from 2025 based on National Association of Realtors data, while wage growth, when adjusted for inflation, registers at 2.3%, creating scenarios where housing expenses often account for 35% to 45% of household income, prompting many to evaluate affordability strategies. The broader framework involves multifaceted interactions, such as lobbying contributions, amounting to $500 million during the most recent election cycle, as tracked by organizations like Open Secrets, which can shape legislative priorities. In areas like trade and regulation, from one viewpoint, trade policies are intended to safeguard domestic employment opportunities, The Federal Reserve's measured stance is designed to foster economic steadiness, and historical events like the Epstein case are viewed as distinct from core economic functions, with emphasis placed on positive indicators such as GDP expansion at 2.1%. However, analytical data suggests that trade adjustments have contributed an average of $1,300 annually to household expenditures, according to Chicago Federal Reserve studies. While manufacturing sector employment saw a 1.8% decline in 2025 attributable to reciprocal measures from trading partners like China, including restrictions on exports of critical materials. The Federal Reserve's approach, while stabilizing in intent, may influence asset valuations, with the volatility index, VIX, at 28 indicating periods of market fluctuation. Furthermore, the Epstein disclosures connect to wider themes of institutional integrity, as materials from 2010 reveal conversations regarding regulatory frameworks, potentially affecting perceptions of fairness. GDP metrics, although encouraging, may not entirely capture median household income trends, which have remained relatively stable at $74,000 since 2019 per U.S. Census Bureau figures, underscoring the importance of considering diverse data points. By acknowledging these components without attributing fault, we can better appreciate the complexities and identify avenues for personal adaptation, such as reviewing budgets with an eye toward long-term resilience, rather than short-term fixes alone. Exploring the psychological aspects can offer valuable insights into how these circumstances impact thought processes and behaviors, drawing from established neuroscience principles to explain typical reactions in a neutral light. The human brain is inherently adaptive, evolved to handle a range of environments, but sustained periods of uncertainty can subtly alter how information is processed and decisions are made. For example, regular updates on administrative adjustments, including the reassignment of approximately 50,000 civil service positions in January under revised personnel guidelines, as noted in Office of Personnel Management documentation, might naturally heighten awareness levels, prompting individuals to seek more information. This can engage dopamine pathways associated with reward and motivation, where engaging with news sources provides a sense of being informed, with research from institutions like UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center indicating that such interactions can increase engagement by 20% to 30% during heightened news cycles, though prolonged exposure might contribute to a sense of overload if not managed. Similarly, stress-related hormones such as cortisol, which can elevate in response to economic indicators, like unemployment rates at 4.2%, an increase from 3.7% as per Bureau of Labor Statistics, may influence brain regions including the hippocampus, with National Institutes of Health studies suggesting potential functional reductions of up to 8%, over extended periods, affecting aspects like memory retention and forward planning. This dynamic can sometimes lead to a preference for immediate solutions over deferred ones, as the brain prioritizes short-term relief in challenging contexts. To illustrate, consider a hypothetical individual named Lisa, a 42-year-old nurse residing in Phoenix, Arizona. Back in 2020, amid the health challenges of the pandemic, she navigated extended work hours and utilized available support payments for home enhancements, resulting in an accumulation of $8,000 in debt, as she balanced professional demands with personal needs. In the current year of 2026, with adjustments to hospital funding linked to policy revisions that have reduced certain public health programs by about 10% according to Congressional Budget Office projections, she encounters additional workload pressures that require careful time management. Under these conditions, stress might manifest in choices like selecting convenient meal options, such as $15 takeout orders for their ease, which incrementally add to her existing $12,000 debt balance. At prevailing interest rates, insights from Yale University's neuroscience research highlight how elevated stress can diminish prefrontal cortex efficiency by approximately 15%, shifting focus toward quicker gratifications rather than comprehensive strategies. Compounding factors include international policy discussions, such as those concerning resource access, that have elevated oil prices to $85 per barrel, thereby increasing her daily commute expenses by roughly 20% through higher fuel costs. Additionally, fluctuations in variable loan rates, adjusting upward by 1%, contribute an extra $40 per month to her financial obligations, prompting a need for recalibration. Some methodologies advocate for positive reframing techniques to adjust viewpoints and foster optimism. However, comprehensive reviews published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology indicate that in environments with persistent challenges, these techniques may not consistently achieve desired outcomes, unless integrated with tangible actions, as standalone applications could sometimes reinforce patterns of deferral. Instead, incorporating practical habits such as engaging in brief daily walks that research from the Mayo Clinic shows can reduce stress markers by 25%, or maintaining a simple journal to track and reflect on personal triggers, can support cognitive resilience by gradually rewiring response patterns. These approaches emphasize balance, allowing individuals to navigate psychological influences, without undue strain, focusing on incremental improvements that align with overall well-being. Moving forward to practical steps, let's discuss methodical approaches to addressing financial elements, in a clear and organized fashion, emphasizing actions that can be taken progressively. To foster stability, begin by systematically reviewing outstanding debts, collect all relevant statements, for example, a credit card balance of $5,000 at a 22% interest rate or student loans totaling $30,000 at 6.8%. Approach lenders with a composed and factual dialogue, such as, "Hello, my name is your name, and my account number is account number. I have maintained consistent on-time payments for a number of years, and I would appreciate discussing possibilities for a reduced interest rate, perhaps aligning with current offers around 12%, or options for balance transfers to more favorable terms." Statistics from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau indicate that such inquiries yield positive adjustments in about 65% of cases when followed up diligently, providing a pathway to lower monthly outflows. For educational or other loans, given the stable interest rate environment, explore refinancing opportunities through reputable platforms like Credible, where qualified applicants might secure rates as low as 4.5%, potentially decreasing payments by $150 per month on a $40,000 principal, thereby freeing up resources for other priorities. Transitioning to daily habits, consider grocery management as a key area. Recall that in 2020, a standard shopping cart totaling $120 might have included fresh produce, proteins like chicken at $1.50 per pound, and basics such as a dozen eggs at $2, with packaging designed for convenience and visibility of contents. In contrast, by 2026, similar items reflect adjusted pricing: chicken at $3.50 per pound, and eggs at $5 per dozen, due to influences like feed import costs from trade agreements, and seasonal supply variations from events such as avian health concerns. To adapt, implement meal planning on a dedicated day, such as Sunday, by purchasing bulk staples like rice at $20 for a 50-pound bag from warehouse clubs, and incorporating frozen vegetables at $1 per pound, which can collectively reduce weekly expenditures by $100 through portion control and waste minimization. While this requires initial organization, like listing recipes and checking pantry stocks, it gradually becomes a routine that supports efficiency. In professional settings, prepare for compensation discussions with data-backed points. In light of the current consumer price index at 3.9%, my current salary level provides approximately 5% less in real terms. I have enhanced team productivity by 15%, as evidenced by specific metrics or examples. Would it be possible to consider a 7% adjustment to align with these contributions? Insights from the Harvard Business Review suggest that such prepared requests succeed in 55% of instances, particularly when supported by documentation. Additionally, conduct a thorough audit of recurring subscriptions. For instance, streaming services at $10 monthly, or fitness memberships at $40, and redirect funds from underutilized ones toward debt reduction or savings. In the context of market variabilities, such as those arising from document releases, explore supplementary income streams like part-time ride-sharing, which could add $300 weekly, through flexible scheduling and tax-deductible expenses. To prepare for potential shifts, regularly update professional networks via platforms like LinkedIn, aiming for weekly interactions to build connections. These measures, while involving dedicated effort and possible initial discomfort like reallocating time, contribute to a stronger financial foundation over time, allowing for a sense of progress without haste. Establishing a structured system for financial management creates a dependable framework to weather various conditions outlined in sequential phases for ease of implementation. Commence with the development of an emergency reserve. Arrange automatic transfers of $100 every 2 weeks into a high-yield savings account offering 4.8% returns, such as those available through institutions like Ally Bank, with the goal of accumulating 3 to 6 months' worth of essential expenses. For a household with $60,000 annual income, this equates to approximately $15,000, providing a buffer for unforeseen needs. Proceed to debt organization using methods like the avalanche approach, where obligations are listed by interest rate descending, maintain minimum payments across all, then allocate surplus funds, say $200 monthly, to the highest rate debt first, utilizing free tracking tools like Mint to monitor progress and adjustments. For investment components, prioritize employer-sponsored retirement plans to fully capture matching contributions, typically up to 6% of salary, followed by maximizing annual limits such as $7,000 for Roth individual retirement accounts. Through cost-effective providers like Vanguard, the 4% rule serves as a guideline for retirement planning, suggesting that a nest egg 25 times annual expenses. For example, $1 million to support $40,000 yearly withdrawals can sustain long-term needs when invested prudently. Construct a diversified portfolio allocation, perhaps 70% in broad market index funds tracking the S&P 500, 20% in bond funds for stability, and 10% in assets like gold exchange-traded funds to hedge against inflationary pressures or policy shifts. In response to trade-related economic factors that may elevate costs, incorporate Treasury inflation-protected securities, TIIPs, to a limited extent. Automate the process by directing 15% of income through payroll deductions, ensuring consistent growth without manual intervention. Conduct quarterly reviews to rebalance holdings, particularly if events like document disclosures lead to market adjustments, such as a 4% dip in major indices, allowing for timely realignments. Over extended periods, this disciplined strategy leverages compound interest. For instance, contributing $400 monthly at an average 7% return could accumulate to $500,000 over 30 years, demonstrating the value of persistence in building security. Reflecting on the broader purpose, money functions as an enabler of greater autonomy and choices, facilitating transitions in careers without undue pressure, opportunities to explore new experiences, or locations at one's own pace, and a foundation of tranquility during times marked by policy evolutions or informational disclosures. It represents a means to navigate complexities with confidence, prioritizing what truly matters in a thoughtful manner. Stop complicating it. Start getting free.